Yellow. Arguably my least favorite color in the Digimon TCG, but one that has certainly left its mark on the competitive scene, leaving many of us feeling a bit worse for wear. That said, Digimon Liberator has done a great job of warming us to the color again through the charming protagonist Arisa Kinosaki and her partner Shoemon. In fact, Arisa and her troupe of puppet Digimon have really opened up an interesting new way to play Yellow, and even left the door open to rescue a formerly infamous deck from the pits of obscurity. Yellow is really one of the stranger colors in the Digimon TCG, arguably because its mechanics are so difficult to balance. See, if you really had to boil Yellow down to its core, the color is all about healing and DP reduction, two extremely busted mechanics. DP reduction is particularly nasty because, unlike other forms of removal, it's technically a game mechanic that removes a Digimon from play. Digimon with 0 DP cannot exist in the battle area, and so if their DP is reduced to 0, they are deleted. This gets around all sorts of protection and can be made even worse when DP reduction is applied as a lingering effect. Ask anyone how much interaction Shine Greymon Ruin mode will entertain. Healing is also a problematic mechanic because it can stall the game out and allow a player to cheese their way into things such as security bombs or resources generated when the opponent is trying to make progress and, actually win the game. Yellow has effects which allow you to see your security before manipulating it in some way as well, giving you a considerable advantage in terms of game state knowledge. Combine this with the ability to apply security attack debuffs, and the whole mechanic gets out of hand. To help offset how busted healing has been, Yellow has started incorporating more strategies that require you to trash your own security, making it a little more difficult to put yourself in an effectively unkillable state, while also introducing more of a risk-reward dynamic to the color. Arisa and the Shoemon line step into Yellow's milieu, mostly on the side of DP reduction and security attack debuffs. But they also bring something new to the table. Well, two things actually. Number one, a focus on the previously overlooked puppet trait, and number two, mechanics focused on tokens. CENDRILLMON, which is Shoemon's mega, has the ability to create familiar tokens, which are basically reskinned Chuchumons that inflict a -3000 DP debuff when they are deleted. These tokens obviously serve as extra bodies, but they also act as resources for one of the new mechanics introduced in the Liberator era, Overclock. Overclock allows you to sacrifice tokens or Digimon of a specific trait to attack at the end of the turn without suspending. This introduces some interesting lines of play, such as being able to attack with the blocker CENDRILLMON while remaining unsuspended to preserve your blocker status. Or you can get in a second swing and maybe proc your when attacking skills twice, which the EX7 CENDRILLMON is all too happy to do. Arisa, in her various incarnations, essentially acts as the glue for this new strategy, rewarding you for generating tokens, helping spawn additional bodies, and making your puppet Digimon's Digivolution curves more efficient. Put this all together with a solid suite of new puppet cards, and you have a recipe for success. So it turns out that Arisa and her affinity for puppets allows CENDRILLMON to accommodate the Numemon archetype quite comfortably. This is because the level 5s, the Monzemons, are all puppets. You can pull off some silly combos, honestly, thanks to the floating prowess of the Numemon archetype, but mostly the Numemon cards are here to provide a ton of aggression and the ability to quickly build up into your level 6 suite. EX7 CENDRILLMON is our boss monster of choice, since it can generate a number of tokens over time, applies heavy DP reduction on the swing, and most importantly, synergizes with the overall aggressive approach that the deck is looking to take, thanks to Overclock. Numemon X is effectively your secondary deck boss, since it allows you to float into any Numemon on deletion as long as it's either in your stack or you meet its X antibody conditions. This lets you float into Platinum Numemon, for example, who can then float into a Monzemon on deletion, helping you to maintain your board presence. The Ukomon brothers form the core of your aggro machine, allowing you to constantly reset your breeding area, gain card advantage, or just spark a little extra memory. Before the recent ban list, these cards were both at 4, and allowed Numemon decks to just blast through everything else. And even at just 5 copies total, they put in a ton of work, especially in a deck that prefers to hard play its level 4s. The other component of our aggro machine is our rush attackers. Bushi Agumon has rushed naturally, but has a hefty 5 play cost, which means that we'll need to cheat it into play to get any value out of it. Monzemon X and Cherubimon Ace can both do the trick, allowing you to sneak in a cheeky swing every now and then, and maybe close out the game. Then there's the combo of BT14 Numemon and Satsuki Tamahime. On play or when digivolving, this Numemon can tuck Satsuki into its sources to give something rush. Satsuki confers jamming, so you can get a quick swing in with this, live the check, and then play Satsuki out at the end of the turn thanks to her Mind Link skill. Future Potential allows you to cheat out a 3 cost or less Digimon for only 2 memory, as long as you have a tamer with matching colors. So, Satsuki will allow you to cheat out any of your Numemons, notably the 1 copy of your X antibody, or BT14 Numemon to get more rush aggro going. Finally, Monzemon X is where you'll be pushing the most damage. If you meet its X antibody requirements, you can cheat out a Numemon or level 3. Obviously, this lets you cheat out our rush attackers. Then, when you play out another Digimon, you can apply some DP reduction to an opponent's Digimon proportionate to how many other guys you have out at the time. The other thing about Monzemon X is that it pairs wonderfully with the 2 yellow Monzemons that we run, both of which confer security attack +1 to other Monzemon named Digimon or to your higher level Numemons. So you can get 2 checks, potentially with jamming from Satsuki, and you probably spawned a rush attacker as well. So that's 3 damage right there. Digivolve into CENDRILLMON, use Overclock to pop a familiar token that she spawns, and now you're gonna swing for 4 damage. And this is all on top of the DP reduction that you just inflicted on the opponent as well, probably making most of their blockers non-factors. Altogether, this deck represents an absolutely relentless assault on the opponent's security, with the ability to demolish boards while it's at it. Yes, a little bit of setup is required, but trust me, the investment is worth it and can lead to some incredibly fast wins. Heading into the meta, Arisa and CENDRILLMON actually have a much better time than their Liberator companions, Shoto and Zafagamon. The fundamentals of what Yellow brings to the table are just that good, and combined with the Numemon engine or a more dedicated puppet build, you can actually do quite well. Red, for example, is a fantastic matchup, since you can dull their aggression with security attack debuffs and outpace them in terms of damage thanks to Overclock. Floating on deletion will also make them miserable because deletion is their primary form of removal. Just be mindful of Crimson Blaze, which is a house of a card and which shuts down your floating effects while wiping your board of weenies. Blue is a bad matchup on the other hand, since they tend to be faster than you most of the time and can bounce your Digimon to prevent any floating or deletion triggers. You usually can't apply any security debuffs either, because Blue tends to build up tamers and boosts first while hiding their main stack in raising, and then they push out and go for the big OTK. Other Yellow decks can be kind of a 50-50, maybe slightly unfavorable depending on the matchup. You can apply a ton of pressure and maybe keep up with their healing, but if they do so much as sneeze in your direction, their own DP reduction will wipe you out, especially if they can apply lingering DP reduction. Green decks tend to be a slog. Your DP reduction is mostly single targeting, so you can rarely wipe their entire board thanks to all the board spam that they do. Green will also stun you to death and bottom deck your guys, which again prevents you from floating. Purple decks are almost a formality, honestly. You can usually run them over before they can set up, and you float just as much as they do, so keeping tempo is not an issue. Just watch out for that one crocodile and his devilish cousins. Black decks are typically favorable matchups since they are set up reliant like purple, but if you let the opponent reach the mid game, things are going to get rough for you. Black does have access to DP reduction immunity, and since its removal is usually based around play costs, your 3-cost Numemons will get popped by basically anything Black's top end will throw at you. In terms of some of the main meta decks, your worst matchup is probably Ancient Garurumon. You're going to give them a ton of tamers while attacking their security, and in return, they can bounce you, lift your security to hand, and float into uninteractable tamers on deletion to basically do it all over again. You also have a bad matchup into one purple deck in particular, which is 7 Great Demon Lords. Leviamon makes your life a living hell. Their blockers are big enough to demand significant resources if you want to remove them, and Tech Shotos and Digimon Emperors will basically slow your assault to a grind. You do, however, have a fantastic matchup into most of the new hybrid decks that are coming in our most recent special booster set. You can basically blow through their weak security since it's mostly going to be tamers, and run them over before they ever reach their top end. But of course, be mindful how you play around these strategies because depending on the particular build, they're not too slow themselves. And at the end of the day, it really comes down to speed and whether or not your opponent has the means to turtle up properly when they can't actually keep up. But as long as you just keep hurling slime and tokens at the opponent, well, it'll probably work out anyway. Okay, and so that's our brief glance at yellow in the Digimon Liberator era. We've still got green, purple, and black to go, plus a couple of decks that transcend the color pie. Honestly though, I'm a little unsure about which color to cover next, so I'm actually going to let you guys decide. Comment down below letting me know if you'd like me to cover green, purple, or black in the next episode of the series. I'll tally up the comments, let's say 2 days from now, and we'll see which one comes out on top. Oh, also, I'm having a hard time deciding which deck would actually make the best beginner pick for green, so please leave your suggestions down there too. I've had some great suggestions so far, but I need just a little more help getting there. Anyway, I'm talking too much, so I will catch you guys in the next one. And until then, peace.